Now, the Urbz is the latest game in the Sims series, and it lets you play as an Urb, a city-dwelling sim character who hangs out in different parts of town in search of street cred. Is the Urbz everything it's cracked up to be? Let's take a look. Now, like with other games in the Sims series, the Urbz lets you create a character, interact with other characters, buy stuff, build out your character's home, change clothes, and take jobs to make money. But the new game makes some bold changes to the formula, and not all of them are good, though some are pretty interesting. There's a lot less emphasis on building and furnishing a home or having crazy character interactions, and a lot more emphasis on building up a network of friends and changing clothes to fit the local fashion. Plus, there's an all-new presentation, a new graphical style, and an all-new soundtrack that focuses on urban subcultures like ravers, thugs, snobs, and bikers. The Urbz has 9 different districts, each with its own character, and each district has a set of goals that you need to complete to unlock new districts and new social moves. It turns out these goals are pretty similar, and some are actually identical. But the most common ones are gaining reputation, getting fashionable, running errands, scaring off bullies, and advancing in the job path. Now, strangely, the game takes a lot of focus away from building out a home. You can still buy stuff for your apartment, and you'll get more than one apartment, but you have to buy stuff outside, in the city, then bring it back to your apartment. Since the game has some pretty substantial load times whenever you enter or exit a district or an apartment, and since most city districts let you eat, sleep, have fun, and clean up to fill out your character's needs, you may not even bother going back to your place or decorating it with furniture. You gain reputation by chatting with other Urbz using social moves, and the Urbz actually color code socials. So green socials will actually work on the character you're talking to, while yellow ones might not, and red ones will always fail. This makes successfully gaining reputation a lot easier, but it also seems to cut down on the unexpected social situations that characters would get into in the previous Sims games. In fact, characters seem to be less autonomous and just do fewer unpredictable and crazy things overall. To succeed in the Urbz, you also need to get fashionable, which means visiting each district's fashion center to change your appearance. You can change your character's clothes, hairstyle, and other accoutrements to get a character who, depending on the district, can get dreadlocks, an afro, knee-high boots, flannel shirts, body piercings, and even different tattoos. It turns out that every district has a nightclub that you can't get into unless you're wearing clothes from that district. So you'll probably find yourself changing clothes constantly. The game's other goals include running errands, which usually means going to a different district and using a particular social. Like using the snapshot social to get a picture of 3 different characters. Pretty straightforward stuff. Each district also gets visited at least once by a bully who will mug you unless you have the right power social, a special social move that you must unlock by finishing certain goals. And finally, you can also take a different job in every district. Unlike with other Sims games where you couldn't follow your character to work, in the Urbz you actually control your character at work, doing things like making sushi, modeling, or stripping motorcycles, while maintaining the workplace by keeping it clean and well stocked, and making sure your character's needs are met. The jobs pretty much all work the same. You press controller buttons in 4-button sequences, or 3-button sequences on the GameCube, until your boss tells you to stop and pays you. It's pretty straightforward, and once you get the hang of it, it's probably not going to hold your attention for long. You can also advance to level 2 and level 3 in your job by using the right skill object to increase your abilities. In previous Sims games, this meant telling your character to go work out or read a book while you watched a little meter fill up. In the Urbz, you actually have to hammer on your controller's A button, or X button for PS2, to fill up your skill level, which is actually even more of a pain than just sitting and watching. Still, even though a lot of goals are similar across different districts, you'll usually have enough varied goals on your plate to keep you busy without forcing you to do the exact same thing over and over. The Urbz has a presentation that isn't perfect, but is still pretty impressive. The game tends to suffer from some occasional graphical slowdown, especially on the PS2, plus there are those loading times we mentioned. However, it does have a very distinctive, colorful cartoon look going for it that seems very consistent with the urban theme. You can say the same for the soundtrack, which features hip-hop group Black Eyed Peas performing gibberish, Simlish versions of their songs, along with other Simlish songs that Max has produced for the game. Each district has its own soundtrack, and even though the lyrics are all nonsense, the songs themselves are very fitting for the different areas and help add a distinctive atmosphere to what are otherwise very similar areas. All things considered, the Urbz takes some bold departures from the Sims formula, and these changes really seem like they would be most exciting to someone who would be into being popular, changing clothing styles, and using the PS2 iToy peripheral to take pictures of themselves to post in the game, which is what happens when you gain a high reputation score. In plain English, you will get the most out of the Urbz if you're a teenage girl. But the game does offer some solid and decently varied goal-oriented gameplay, and a surprisingly authentic presentation, along with a very different interpretation of the basic Sims gameplay for everyone else.